The Scene projects are brought to you by these fine sponsors: Cliff Avenue Upholstery and Restoration, Chevy Girl Advertising and Booking, Sunny Radio, and SiouxFallsPodcast.com. Welcome into a very exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Starts, and with me today is my good friend, John Small. John.
Oh, how are you, sir?
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
In your studio.
I was going to say, your studio is amazing. Oh, it's my studio. That's all right.
I love this podcast.
This is like a home and away game.
Yeah.
You're doing an away game, and I'm doing a home game. So.
Yeah. Well, I've been in this chair before as the away team, right? And now I'm here as the home team.
Yes.
For people that don't know you, why don't you give us a little bit of, who is John Small and what do you do?
I was born at a very young age in Huron, South Dakota, and I started in radio way back in the 1990s and worked in radio in Iowa and South Dakota and Nebraska, and eventually bought a radio station in South Dakota in Sioux Falls. My wife and I launched that in 2010. It's called Sunny Radio. And I do some podcasts, but all of the podcasts that I do are also radio shows, so they're really radio shows. And then we've got a syndicated show that's on stations all over the place. And along the way, I've always been a fan of comedy, stand-up comedy. Like, I've just always loved it. And I always wanted to do that. And I went and did an open mic night contest, 15 years ago probably. And I won. And I was like, that's pretty cool. That was fun. And then I went to another contest 6 months later at a different place, and I got second place at that one. But I did all new material. It was all different stuff. And then I did a third one, and I got second place with all different material. And I decided I'm going to maybe do something with that. And my favorite thing is, first of all, I'm a clean comic. Now, I've got some jokes that are not clean jokes, and I just don't tell those at the clean comedy shows. But I remember doing an open mic night in Sioux Falls where I told a joke that had the F word in it 3 times. And one of the other comics was running late for that event. And all of these guys know me as the clean comic. I'm a Christian comic. I do comedy shows at churches. And this story wasn't like a filthy, naughty story, but it was about a text message that I got, and the F word happened to be in that message. And it was a meant for someone else message. Anyway, when I read this story when I share this story from the stage, all of the local comics literally stopped what they're doing and are looking up like, whoa, I just heard John swear. That'd be like hearing your grandpa swear for these guys, because I'm this old guy compared to them. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I've never heard you swear before. And one of the guys was running late. He's like, hey, I'm running late. Can you put my name on the list? Did I miss anything? And they're like, yeah, you just missed Big John Small. He dropped the F-bomb 3 times from stage. And he's like, no way. So, but yeah, I do mainly clean comedy. And my favorite thing to do are fundraisers. So the event we're doing next Friday is a fundraiser, and I love that. I helped a church in Minnesota. I helped them raise $12,000 at their comedy night fundraiser. And I love that.
And obviously, producing shows and talking and hosting, that kind of all goes hand in hand. I think I've never been to an event, but just knowing your personality, where you'd be a perfect fit for all of those. And it's a good thing that you enjoy it, because we need people to help with these organizations. And well, that's fantastic. Speaking of the comedy and the shows and the fundraisers, you got one coming up here November 15th here in South Dakota. That's going to be at Titan's Tavern Event Center. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the show?
Yeah, it's the folks that own that are originally from my hometown of Huron. And I knew their dad. That's how old I am, and that's how young they are. So it's like, at least it wasn't their grandpa that I knew. That would have been even worse. And they were excited that they're going to have this event space. And they said, hey, we'd like to do a comedy show. Can we work on something? And I said, if we're going to do it, I would much rather, and we could come in and do a comedy show, but I'd rather do a fundraiser for something good in the community. So that's just a really nice welcome to the community for them as well. And I said, this would also be a really good way to make a really positive impact on your new neighbors. And I said, the American Legion, they're always looking for funds for something. And we chatted with them, and they've got a couple of different things that they're earmarking these funds for. So whatever we raise on Friday, 100% of ticket sales, all of it goes directly to the American Legion. And I went out ahead of time, and I got a couple of sponsors to help cover the cost of everything. Some of the money from that sponsorship is also going to go over there. But I wanted to make sure we had enough raised that we don't ever have to say, oh, hey, I guess we had this expense or that expense, so we're not going to be able to give all of the ticket sales to you. We make sure that we have enough ahead of time that 100% of the show is covered no matter what. And I called in some friends to help. And I'm going to make sure my comedian friends get paid. So that's where some of this money is going. You know, I'm an idiot that'll work for free all the time. Happy to do that. My heart is big, and I'm not doing comedy because I need the money from it. I do it because I love doing it. But we're raising money for veterans. So I said, we should probably have some veteran comics that come on and be on this show. Very funny comedian from Sioux City, Logan Hartnett. He's an Army veteran, and he'll be one of the comics on the show with me. And then Jerry Irby is a local comedian in Sioux Falls. He's actually from Detroit, but he lives in Sioux Falls now, and he's also a veteran. I believe he's an Air Force veteran. I have to ask him. I'm going to do an interview with him tomorrow, so I'll find out for sure. But I'm almost positive he told me he's an Air Force veteran. So I'm so honored to get to work with these two gentlemen who've served their country, and now they get on stage and they make people laugh by telling silly stories. You don't have to be a veteran to come to the show. If you want to come to the show and just laugh, it's some funny, very funny humor. We would love to have you come out. But if you are a veteran, there are going to be some jokes that you get a little more than the average Joe, because I've been to these shows, especially with Logan. He's got some really fun stories from when he's served. And I think veterans appreciate that a whole bunch. So if you get a chance, come out and join us on Friday the 15th.
That's fantastic. Well, and Titan's Tavern, a relatively new establishment. Seems like the building's been there, but they have a nice event space there. I actually just stopped in there a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it's a big, beautiful stage, too.
Yep.
They had to like reduce the size of the stage. It used to cover the door. I was like, what in the world? So,
you can't do that.
No, you kind of need that just in case. Load in and out would have been tough before, but now they've got they made the stage the proper size. And there's a nice big projection screen on the wall. So the whole time we're doing our comedy show, we're going to have all of our sponsors on the wall with us as well. If anybody listening is going, hey, I'd be interested in contributing to this, if you reach out, I'd gladly work with you on that. And I try to make it very affordable. So, you know, if people want to come on, whatever amount they want to give, it'll go. At this point, I think all of it will probably be going directly to the American Legion, because I'm pretty sure we've got everything covered with the sponsors we have now.
Fantastic. Well, and I think you're hitting on something, and we can do more of this, right? I think especially with us working more and more together, you know, obviously with you and your radio station, the podcast, like it's obvious reasons of why we're working together, right?
Synergy.
Our relationship, our relationship goes much farther than just the interviews that we do with one another. I think, you know, as many of these as we wanted to do, I think that's going to be a focus of what the scene projects really become. Obviously, we've already been involved in some charitable efforts as a relatively new project as we are. It's most of us would do this for free, right? Yeah. I'm a musician, obviously, everyone knows. We would do our art for free or for very little, the cost of going there, but the benefits you get from knowing that you did some good, to be able to come back to T and to see the project that the Veterans Association, right, that they're able to do with the funds and with that help, that's what it's about, right? You're going to get a lot more out of that than, you know, some money for the party this weekend.
Exactly. And originally I was going to do this on the 8th of November. And I had asked the American Legion, what do you guys what are you going to do with the funds? Because I just want to be able to tell people, rather than we're raising money for the Legion. Again, that's cool. But they wanted to do, they're doing a party on Veterans Day, which is I was going to say the first. No, it's not. It's the 11th of November. So it's next Monday. So that is before our event now. We moved our event back. So that was one of the reasons I went out and said, I'm going to get some sponsors so we're able to cover the cost of the party they're doing. So we're paying for a party before we even have our party, which, again, I think is really a cool thing.
Well, and it's a lot better than, you know, I think a lot of people look at people that, I mean, you're a promoter, you're a concert event promoter. They look at that and like there's a big pile of money at the end of it, and there never is. And it's part of the reason why I've kind of shied away from doing a lot of events, because there's almost a stigma. Like, people don't want to come and pay for any kind of show because they think that there's some, you know, there's Bill Graham in the back counting his bag of money. And there's just it's not, I mean, to do local shows like this is not farther from the truth. So I think the more that we can just hook up and just do them for charity and to raise some money, because that's all, we're just looking for a place to do our art, right? We're just looking for a place to be and to cover the cost of getting there, essentially, is all, you know, we ever ask for. Gas ain't cheap. It seems like it's going to be getting cheaper here in the near future, but
that'd be nice. That'd be really nice.
Well, that's most the cost of our process, right? right? Like, I don't have to take home a bundle of money to come and do that, especially guys like us that are in the advertising, broadcasting world. Yeah. The benefits we're going to gain from having our names attached to these events and being in the public like this, sure. That's the benefit to us, at least monetarily as a business, right? Absolutely. It's the long-term game to that. And then we get to kind of come together and to do these great events. So once again, November 15th, we got the Comedy Night fundraiser. It's at the T Event Center at Titan's Tavern. That is in T, South Dakota.
Yes, sir.
Anything that we want to add before we go?
If you'd like to get a ticket, you can buy them in advance online at standuptohelp.com. I set that website up for all of my fundraiser shows that I do. So when you go on there, usually there's just one thing on there at a time. I try not to have it where you go on, you have to scroll through and find a whole bunch of stuff. And part of the reason I do that is I try to focus my time to do a good job for everybody that I'm working with, rather than just, I've got this fundraiser Friday, and I've got this one Saturday, and this one next week, and this one the following week. So I maybe don't do as many of those as I could. And anytime somebody reaches out and needs help, I help with their events too. But the ones that I'm doing, I push through that website. And again, just to make it really easy to find, standuptohelp.com. And it's the number, not the number 2, it's TO. I was going to buy it with the number 2 as well. My wife was like, you don't need any more domain names.
You probably got 1,000 already.
No, I was over 100 at one point. Now I'm down to like 40, which is crazy.
Well, John, thank you so much for being part of the show and being part of the scene. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing what you do, man.
Yep, always. Thanks for listening. Remember to follow the Scene Projects on all your social media channels and get even more content at thesceneprojects.com.
No other to pour that love on me like water. Got an ocean full of love that's made for two.